Uh, Good day, guys. Uh, I remember I was on Dr. Ngasa's show on LCBC TV, Ask Question, some time ago. Immediately, our leaders, the Naira 10, were brought before the public and in the Yaoundé military tribunal, where Sisiku Ayuk Julius Tabe, president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, made this declaration and the statement before the Yaoundé military court that he was an Ambazonian. And Dr. Ngasa asked me on his show what that actually means. And I remember my answer back then was Sisiku Ayuk Julius Tabe, president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, was not actually speaking to La République du Cameroon, and that he was actually speaking to his people, the people of Ambazonia, that are having the possibility for them to hear from him for the very first time. He wanted the Ambazonians to know that their president is back. I think that is what our president is back. That was the caption that I used back then during that show with Dr. Ngasa. I said he's saying that our president is back. Sisiku Julius Tabe and the Naira 10, they are back and in full form and ready and able to steer us to the completion the completion of our restoration process. And he was kind of telling us not to weary anymore, and that you can imagine when your father leaves the house and then you guys feel insecure, and then your father comes back and then he's reassuring his family. That is what that meant to me back then. And I also said during that show that going forward, anytime he may not be able to be with us physically as he used to be, the world tours that he will come communion with us, advise and direct us, observe what we are doing and tell us what next. But we should be very keen and observant to every outing or publication that will come out from this the Sisiku-led Ambazonian leadership in detention. So that was what I said then, and I couldn't be more correct today. So I'm actually excited that from all the actions of the leadership in detention, Sisiku Ayuk Julius Tabe and others have actually shown that. And to my dismay, a lot of our Ambazonian people have not paid quite a lot of attention as to what I said back then, because for the most part, a lot of our people have not taken the indications that or the hints that our leaders have been given to us since then quite seriously. It's unfortunate that we have quite derailed from looking up to their leadership and actually trying to go astray our own way. This is something that this particular leadership in detention, the restoration process was structured by these guys, fellow Ambazonians, and they know what they are doing. As long as they stand for Ambazonia, we should stand behind them. Like I said, I couldn't be more correct today looking at their actions since they became available to reach out to us, to communicate with the public, and to air their opinions. They have reassured us. They have looked back into what we have been doing. They have given their opinions on how we can refocus. They have tried to refocus us. First, they came out with this Ambazonian Freedom Protocol, which was a key document that defines our Ambazonian nation for generations to come. That is undisputable. These are guys who are architects of the new Ambazonia that is in the making. So that is something that we should not, we have not quite much dived into it to explore this, I would say, these directives that are coming from our able leaders. We have not explored that document because I'm pretty sure that just the Ambazonian Freedom Protocol that they provided for us, they thought that would be our compass, our moral compass, and our vision and our way of behavior towards a new republic. And we have not quite exploited that document or applied it to our current context as we have been trying to prosecute the struggle with them in detention. So I believe that if Sisiku, Ayuk, Julius, Tabe, and the rest of the leaders in detention were with us out here, there are quite a lot of key factors in that Ambazonian Freedom Protocol that they would have been trying to inculcate into our current struggle as we move into the future. Handing that document to us, for those of us who are able to move back and forth around amongst us, we have not exploited that document correctly. Nevertheless, they have continued to try their utmost best to make sure that the revolution doesn't derail, that we stay on course and focus. He saw that the president saw the need for the government, the interim government, to move from the actorship that former acting president Dr. Samuel Sarko Ikome was leading, and he reversed that actorship and said we have a full interim government working again. That was a calculative move to redirect and refocus us on the issues that matter, so that we can begin to consolidate the gains that the interim government have gathered so far, and also to bring in the missing pieces together so that the completion of the process can be more effective. That has been done. It is also still a work in progress for the balancing of whatever has to happen. And then we have all seen that the international community is closing in on La République du Cameroon, and we see the panic that is going on back there in La République du Cameroon, and all the perpetrators of genocide in our country, they are panicking. They are now saying that they can resolve this problem by themselves and they don't need the international community. That is to tell you that they very well know that they will pay the price once the international community steps in, which is actually what has to happen. And the leadership in detention led by Sisiku, Ayuk, Julius, Tabe, they understand this. And while we have been making a lot of noise outside and have not been mounting the kind of pressure that we should, they have not stayed quiet. Sisiku, Ayuk, Julius, Tabe, and the rest of the leaders in detention, they crafted these beautiful proposals to the United Nations, which it's amazing. It is amazing because this is something that those of us who have been out here running around for quite a long time saying we are working, we have not really been working, because what these guys have done behind bars for the time that they have been, personally I feel that all of us who are free should be ashamed of ourselves, because we have not done quite a lot to foster this revolution like we should, except for our boys and girls on ground zero holding the fort. So for those of us, especially the diaspora, who should have been championing diplomatic efforts like the one that Sisiku, Ayuk, Julius, Tabe, and co are now championing from behind bars, even at that, we are not giving our maximum support to their initiatives, their directions, which is our only key. I must say that the key to Ambazonian diplomacy right now is the Naira 10. There is no dispute about that. the key to Ambazonian diplomacy right now is the Naira 10. Nobody should misplace, so you cannot dispute that. And anytime you try to move away from that Naira 10, you are taking diplomacy a year behind. And Ambazonian should not make that mistake of taking a step back to start all over again. So we are moving forward, and that is the way to go. So this beautiful, quite intelligent proposal that the Naira 10 put before the United Nations, it's a key strategic document, and it was done in a very strategic manner. At the time when this pressure is mounting, our leaders thought it wise to let the international community know that Ambazonia is ready. That for all along, from the very get-go, we have always been peaceful, and we have always wanted the crisis to be resolved. We are the ones who want solutions to this problem, and not La République du Cameroun. It was time for us to distinguish ourselves from La République du Cameroun. While they keep turning around and holding conferences and signing decrees and camouflaging a disarmament everywhere that is now working, and the international community knows that it is our time to show our readiness and to show that we are ready and prove it. And this document that the Naira 10 proposed to the United Nations is a key indication that Ambazonia is quite ready for any kind of dialogue. Is an indication that we know what we want, and it's an indication that we are looking for concrete solutions, which the other side, La République du Cameroun, is not asking for. The other side is saying that they can solve this problem by themselves, and the international community knows that that is not the case. So for us, proving that we want to work with the rest of the free world and the civilized communities to make a conflict, to make this conflict go away and let the suffering people get back to their normal lives, is the best way and the only way to show our readiness. And I know our people spend a lot of time instead talking about whether or not it was necessary, rather than going into the content of what our leaders actually proposed to the United Nations. And after this proposition that they have submitted to the United Nations, which proves our readiness, what is now left for us Ambazonians to do is to begin to go into this document, analyze it, and see how much more we can add. We can add to the proposal that they in all their effectiveness provided on our behalf. So there is much that we have to deduce from this document, begin to understand the vision and how a negotiation with La République is going to work, because most people talk negotiation, dialogue, inclusive dialogue, whatever. They don't even know what that means. But so this structure, you can see that the Naira 10, they took their time, they structured what Ambazonians believe how such a talk will comprise. They define every step of the process. The first point that they had like 7 points on how, 7 rundown on how the process should look like, should be structured. The origin or basis of the conflict, the scope of the conflict or the problems, parties to the talk, conditions for the talks, delegations to the talk, the venue, and the issues. You would notice that in this document, they do not just say spill out platitudes. They put out concrete suggestions. Like when they went to the venue, they didn't just say with a third party nation outside of La République du Cameroun. No, they actually propose venues. They actually propose venues that they believe, yes, they actually proposed the New York here, Geneva, and Addis Ababa. These are the places where the United Nations holds their offices. The UN headquarters here in New York, Geneva, or Addis Ababa with the AU. So these proposals, they were very concrete. The issues that they want to discuss, the political issues, political issues will be at the top. That is generalized. Now, on political issues, these are the debates now that we Ambazonians have to begin to debate, to debate what political issues are at stake between La République and Ambazonia. The political issues for like whatever brought us together was a political issue that brought us together. It was a political action that brought La République and Southern Cameroonians together, Ambazonians today, of course. We have economic issues that are to be discussed. What are those economic issues? Are the things that Ambazonians should be talking about now. Those are the topics that should mount the debate in our communities, and not backbiting and smears or criticism of a good action that our leaders have taken. Socio-cultural issues are at stake. These are all spelled out. The details of it is what Ambazonians will take to the talk. So all these headlines that our leaders have projected, these are the discussions that should be our communities should be concerned about. Not whether or not our leaders are behind bars, because what they have done behind bars is much more than what we have done out here for all the time that we have been making the noise. So our leaders, again, have been leading by example and giving us the clear motivation to go out there and do what they behind bars are unable to do. I'm pretty sure that if they were if they were not behind bars and with us, I bet you they would have been walking around like Sisiku used to do, travel around from his pocket and carry out actions on behalf of the country. That is how much these gentlemen care about the future of our republic. The parties to the talk is also the proposal that our leaders put in there, and it is quite interesting. It was quite simple. The parties to the talk should obviously be the following. It is obvious. That is the confidence and the certainty that our leaders have with what they are expecting. So they have a clear position on what, if today, the only people who have shown the readiness to a negotiation to end the conflict in between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon is Ambazonia, and through the leadership of Sisiku, Ayuk, Julius, Tabe, and co, with the Ambazonian people. This is a clear readiness for the end of the conflict, and this is what the international community takes seriously, and it is our duty to promote this agenda and to tell the rest of the world that yes, we are ready on every outing. I remember I once said the Freedom Protocol should be exploited. Sadly, not much of it was exploited. This is another document from our leaders that we must take seriously. We must begin to communicate this these proposals, to speak in this direction. This is leadership. Leadership doesn't mean you actually have to be the one digging. Leadership means you are given a vision and a direction, and able to draw people to charismatically follow that vision. This is a great vision. This is a great leadership, and Ambazonians should take this seriously and follow it. Kudos to our leaders in jail, and Sisiku, Julius, Tabe is a true leader, and Ambazonia is ready for negotiations with La République du Cameroon. Thank you. I am Silas at Intl.